You know, but they've been there for, what, 150 years now, and they've spent billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars doing it. And you're not trying to get somebody to remember your logo, because your logo is not going to be on the ballot. You're trying to get somebody to remember an idea. You're trying to get somebody to know, why they should vote for you. And so you may have many, many reasons why you're running. And there may be very, very important reasons, and you should know what they are. But what you have to do is try to boil that down to one simple, basic, compelling message that you can repeat over and over and over and over again. And that it's a message that permeates from the top of works for the top of the pyramid as well as it works for the bottom of the pyramid. Now, I always like to use as an example, and I probably shouldn't, being from Massachusetts, where, the last presidential election. Now, how did Bush get reelected? I mean, it's certainly not because of the brightest one. It's certainly not because he was the sharpest on the issues. But, he had an authenticity, people think is phony now, that was able to communicate, with people. And, John Kerry talked about issue after issue after issue after issue, and he talked himself around in circles. And people in the 75% in the bottom that swung that election in the end, they said, well, you know what, we may both be devils, but I'm going to go with the devil I know instead of the devil I don't know. Karl Rove and George Bush had an incredibly easy job because they didn't really have to defend Bush. They just had to attack Kerry. And that's what they did. And it was very, very successful. But I think that this year, you're seeing the backlash of all that coming home to roost. In Iowa the other day, you had two people, who were not insiders, who were far outsiders, who won in their parties. Both of which had the same message, which was not a message of attack, which was not a message of hate, which was not a message, because I think that at this point, and that's what most survey research tells us right now, Americans are pretty fed up with that. Most people don't like politicians. Or like below the screen of used car salesmen and other things. And you have to start when you run for public office understanding that. And then you have to break that down a little bit. And you have to say, well, why do people not like public officials? Well, what do we know about politicians? Because they like to talk about themselves. They're full of themselves. They want to tell you what to think. They want to do this. So you, as you run for office, got to try not to do that. What you're trying to do is establish a conversation with the voter. And you can't do that if you don't listen. You can't just talk. You got to be able to listen. If you're going door to door, you're running for county supervisor. If you introduce yourself and say, I really wanted to hear what you had to say, and that person talks to you, they'll remember talking to you because they got to talk. Because they got to express themselves. And that's really the way our democracy is supposed to work in a representative way. And so you need to try to find ways to build conversations with voters. But let's get back to message. One clear, compelling thing, there's the reason. Message answers a question. The question is, why me? Why now? Why should I elect Susan Chris to Supreme Court, and why should I do it now? Why should I elect Joe Jaworski to State Senate, and why should I do it now? What's the clear, compelling, absolute reason for that? A message ought to be able to be said in a sentence, it ought to be able to be said in a paragraph, and it ought to be able to be said in a page. And sometimes it gets a little bit complicated. But the message is not a slogan. Many times you can have the slogan that what it does is it symbolizes the message. If we remember back to Clinton's last re-election campaign, can anybody tell me what his message was? Because we got sick of hearing it. A bridge to the 21st century. I'm going to build a bridge to the 21st century. You need to re-elect me because I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, and that's going to build us a bridge to the 21st century. And the longer message development was, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we have experience now, and this is happening, and all that is going to lead us into the next generation, to the 21st century. That was his clear, concise message. If you look at the message of current presidential campaigns right now, what's Hillary Clinton's message? Boiled down very simply. Exactly. Experienced leadership with the courage to make a difference. That's what it is.